Dadhood. Modern Dadhood Podcast.
Hi, friends. You're listening to Modern Dadhood, an ongoing conversation about the joys, challenges, and general insanity of being a dad in this moment. My name's Adam Flaherty, and I'm a dad of two incredible daughters who are 11 and 8 years old. And I'm typically joined by my co-host Mark, who is delightful, but you've just got me today. We recently got a prominent feature in Apple Podcasts, so thanks to their editorial team for that. And if you're just listening for the first time after discovering us through Apple, then I want to welcome you. Mark and I like to make it clear that we are not fatherhood experts, but we do love talking about it with other dads whose experiences are different from our own, or sometimes with guests who are experts and can help us all become better parents. So we welcome you, we hope you enjoy it and feel at home here. You can find our entire archive of episodes at moderndadhood.com, where you can search by guest or search by topic. There's some really, really amazing conversations that we've had over the last 5+ years. And if you are new to the show, I'll drop a few of my personal favorite episodes in the show notes. You can also follow or subscribe to us wherever you listen. We'd be totally delighted if you left us a short review or told a friend about the show, because word of mouth is something that really moves the needle for us. My guest for today's episode, this is a fun one. His name is Sean Busch. He is the founder of Dad Mode, which is a line of cleaning products for dads. It's a pretty interesting conversation. We dig into the idea of gendering products and marketing them to a specific demographic, and I'm excited for you to hear it. So without further ado, here's my chat with Sean. Sean Busch is a dad of two, a husband of one, lives in Connecticut, and he's the founder of Dad Mode, a brand of high-performance cleaning products marketed specifically to dads. Sean, I'm psyched that you're here. Thanks for making time for this today.
Thanks, Adam. It's great to be here.
So first, I would love to just hear about your family. How old are your kids, and what's dad life like for you?
It's ever-changing. As you know. So I have a 5-year-old son and an 8-year-old daughter. Different personalities, different interests, different people. So you sort of get what you get when they come out, and you just sort of foster that the best you can. But it's been a fun adventure, and they're at good ages now. Kind of love the age.
8 and 5, yeah. My girls are 11 and 8, so we're probably watching some of the same TV shows right now.
Or YouTube channels, yes.
Okay, so I'd love to hear about your backstory, how you got into the cleaning product industry. Can you give me a little bit of your entrepreneurial story?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So both my parents were small business owners, very small businesses. My mom ran a garden business on Long Island, and my dad ran a computer repair business, something that really doesn't exist anymore. So I was kind of exposed to that at a very young age. And, they kind of gave me one piece of advice that stuck was find something you like doing and learn how to make money at it. And so I got into cars really young, and I found a way to make money with them, which was when I turned 16, I started a car detailing company in Long Island, a mobile car detailing company. And it was a great way for me to really kind of branch out from the normal jobs that you do when you're a teenager and meet some really cool people, work on some fun cars. And then that expanded into posting my work online and working with chemical manufacturers in that space and doing R&D for them at like a very young age, and got 2 corporate careers out of it as well from clients that I had. So that's really kind of how that started. And then I don't know, I've just been always one of these weird people that enjoys cleaning. I get a lot of gratification out of it. It grounds me. It's like whenever my head's scrambled or something's bothering me, like if I go and wash my car, I always feel better afterwards. There's something really gratifying about that. And when I moved to Austin in 2009 with my wife, I got a job from one of my clients from my detailing company there, and worked at his e-commerce CPG company and learned that whole ecosystem and fell in love with it. And then, a couple of years in, I got kind of bored, and I started talking to my neighbor about business ideas. And we kind of had this idea, at the time, Jessica Alba and the Honest Company was becoming more popular in her book. And, I kind of said, I was like, look, I have a background in this. This could be something fun that if we want to go ahead and create a competitive product line. And we launched on Amazon in 2013. And it was really about creating a brand that had pure and natural ingredients with household cleaning products and baby care products marketed to moms that we grew over 9 years, almost 9 years. And then we sold the company. And then the most recent one is Dad Mode.
You were saying that the products that you developed for that company, are we able to say the name? This is you're talking about Puracy, correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay. So the products that you developed for Puracy were marketed towards moms.
Correct.
But I was reading, as I was doing some research for this chat on your website, you were saying at one point a revelation hit that the cleaning industry is stuck in the 1950s, you say, and many of the popular brands are still speaking specifically to women. So tell me about about your decision to, after selling Puracy, to launch this new brand of cleaning supplies marketing specifically to dads. How did that come about?
Yeah. So, a lot of businesses are built out of just personal need, right? Or the vision that you have that something isn't in the market and it should be. And, with Puracy, it was about my wife and I were family planning. My co-founder's wife and him were family planning. And we were in that mindset. We were, open up when you're having a kid, you open up every cabinet in your house and you like, what is toxic in here? How do I get it out? How do I replace it with something safer? So that was really the mindset behind that brand. With Dad Mode, really where it came from was a couple things. One was coming out of COVID and realizing that the hybrid work environment was, more or less here to stay. But what was stickier than kind of what is now reverted back into going to the office more often was the acceleration of shared household responsibilities amongst both parents. And what we saw was dads were just chipping in more. Dads were doing a little laundry or two a week. Dads were cleaning up the kitchen. You started to kind of divide and conquer rather than whoever was staying at home, which was just traditionally mom, handling all that stuff. And so we saw that. And then we saw the fact that, frankly, like with the Puracy brand, there were a lot of competitors all going after the same target demographic, which is just mom. That's the primary buyer in the household. So these things start to add up. And then you start to add on like these little kind of clever pieces of marketing information around, dads who do more chores around the house get laid more. And you're like, oh, that could be fun to go ahead and portray that on social media. And then, you realize that there was really no masculine brands out there for household cleaning. And you see what's happened with brands like Dr. Squatch and brands like, Liquid Death and Dude Wipes, where they really kind of very directly targeted men. And so our thesis has been dads are doing more work around the house. The modern dad is. Go after dads versus men because, as you know, kids are the largest producers of mess by far and away. And so, dads with kids under the age of 14 really became our target demographic. And the mindset being that dads had a much better opportunity of ushering in new products into the household if they were going to be the ones using them. I think the final piece of it really is like, I'm a dad, I'm living it. I know what we're going through. I know that, frankly, life is just chaotic. We are perpetually overscheduled, perpetually just doing everything we possibly can to raise our children with things that we didn't have. And now we have a ton of stuff. But frankly, like life is messy. And I think you need to celebrate it. And we're there to clean it up.
I love it. And I on this show, we get a lot of requests, pitches from people who want to come on, like a lot of authors, for example, right? They want to come on and talk about their book and use, whatever platform we have as a way to promote and sell books. But like after a certain point, you do enough of those and it feels like you're just helping people sell their stuff as opposed to having meaningful conversations. So what I'm getting at is I was intrigued when you reached out because you've got a great brand. I'm sure that the product is great. I like the sustainable packaging, the natural ingredients, all of that. But I think there's also a bigger conversation here about, just the equity in relationships and partnerships and equity in household chores and things like that. Like, I wonder, what do you say, first of all, to someone who suggests that this is more like a gimmick than about function, like, or that it introduces binary thinking or concepts where it's not relevant?
I would say that I'm glad we struck that chord. And I think some of the best brands do, right? I think some of the best brands really kind of push your buttons and create a little bit of segregation, right? It's one of those things that we focus on from a social standpoint, in that cleaning brands are like really boring. And they just operate like right down the fairway, and we're not getting too far off course here. And like everything is like sort of pretty and polished and airy and clouds, and that's just not real life. And so I think, coming at this from a masculine angle, coming at it from an angle of a little bit more humor, sometimes a little edgy, sometimes a little corny with dad jokes, is really what we're trying to portray. And like, I think that's what, frankly, society is looking for. To your question, look, I think it's fair, right? It's a fair question. I think it's, we got a little bit of hate mail after Father's Day. People are like, mom's got back at dad finally. Like, and I've had this conversation a lot, is around, moms have so many resources, so many. And dads are really fragmented in the amount of resources that they have to kind of just learn. Our dads didn't have any of the stuff that we have now in terms of resources. And they, kind of did what they could do to be the best dads they could. But now you've learned all this new stuff where you're like, I guess they probably shouldn't have done that or that or that. So now you have all these resources, but even with dads now, it's still very fragmented. And I think that the thing we're trying to get across is that when your kids see you doing stuff in the house, that's when it starts to change. That's when it starts to be like, oh, well, dad's helping out more. He's helping out mom. And like it starts to kind of promote a closer knit family unit.
Yeah, I love that. And, of course, as the role of the father has evolved over the years, we see dads becoming much more involved in things like keeping house and raising children. And it sounds like what you're saying is, let's embrace that, let's celebrate it, and let's just make it as easy as possible for them to be contributing in that way and contributing towards equality in the relationship.
Or at least some balance.
The thing that caught my ear when you were talking, Sean, was like, so I'm a marketer too. My whole career has been in video production. And so your commercials are like, clearly, I love that style of humor. I think it is really in line with some of the others that you called out with Dr. Squatch, some of the stuff that like Old Spice is doing. It's really fun. But I think what I'm gathering is like the intent with that stuff is to cut through the clutter, to grab people's attention, even if the way that you're grabbing their attention is something that might like instinctually be like a trigger for them. So like, for example, you'll get laid more if you do more chores in using our product sort of thing. Some guys might say, that sounds awesome, I want to check out the product. Some guys might be like, that's fucking ridiculous. And the idea of sort of turning intimacy into like a reward system or something. But either way, if they're clicking through and they dig a little bit deeper, they'll see on your website that claim is not just like something you made up. Like, you've actually referenced studies that in relationships where there is more balance with household chores, that intimacy is higher. So I guess my point is like, I think I see what you're doing in that what could appear to be a marketing gimmick is really just a way to cut through and invite somebody to look a little closer and see that this is actually embracing a really positive thing. It's just doing it in kind of like a fun, a little bit snarky kind of way.
That's 1,000% correct. You can't outspend the tides. You can't outmarket them from a reach standpoint. You can't even win on Amazon, right? You can't get the reviews like they have. You can't get the exposure from an advertising standpoint. There's so many ways that they have to win against a small brand. So it's like, how do you stand out? And the product benefits are, important to some, but they say, well, it's like sustainability is important, but for a lot of people, it's always going to be efficacy for cleaning products. It's like, how do you sort of strike that chord? And a lot of it, is like having a message that is a little bit more controversial, and some of that is done in the humor standpoint, but some of it could be done in the standpoint of, really trying to promote dads being more present in a child's life. This is a major moment that we have to kind of, be a kind of a hero in our kids' lives, and not just be looked at as like, well, dad does the yard, dad does the cars, and dad works in an office, right? The kind of standard routine. It's not that way anymore. So, the empowerment around trying to get dads to be more present in the household, trying to do more things. Some of the stuff I kind of talk about in some of the blog posts, some of the videos, just around, find a way to spend 10 minutes of undivided attention with your child and do whatever they want to do. Whether it's, play with dolls or have story time, something where it's like just you two, so that you can have that bonding moment, because it's so easy. You know how it is. You have an 8 and 11-year-old. It's so easy for this time to pass you by and you just never get it back. And I look at pictures of my daughter and it's like, how did that happen so quickly? Mm-hmm. And every single moment is impressionable, and you don't know how much you appear to be a superhero to them. And I think that that's something that needs to sort of build and be more prevalent in our society. And this is just one of the ways to kind of get there, I think, but we're moving in that direction. But I'm trying to be sort of an accelerative piece of bringing that message to the masses.
Choreplay, for listeners, is how you refer to it, and you say Google it. Tell me a little bit about that concept and the studies that you found that support that.
Yeah, so there were a few studies done in the 20-teens that showed exactly that. They showed that when there was more balance in household responsibilities and chores, that there was greater intimacy in the relationship. There's been a lot of TikToks on it. You kind of look through the hashtag choreplay. One of the ones I remember was great. Like, what is, it was a woman. She's like, what is the sexiest thing you could hear at 8:00 at night? And it's a plastic bag being shaken out because your husband took the garbage out without you having to ask for it. And you're like, wow, what a turn on. And so that's what we're going after, because when you are a parent, I mean, and sometimes, especially in the early days, it's war. I mean, you are just dealing with all sorts of stuff, and you're having arguments at 3:00 in the morning when the baby's awake because you didn't put together this soother correctly, or their jammies aren't going on correctly. Like, it's really, really hard. And when you have some good division of responsibilities, it just breeds a better household. And I think that, my kids see it. They see how it's broken down. And again, it's probably something that we didn't grow up with. And I think it's just it's a shift of times. And I don't think it's a thing where it's trying to put dads into a role of like, you have to do everything. It's just more about that responsibility. And then frankly, just using products they actually care about using.
And one other, marketing question. So when you're marketing something to a specific demographic, again, men who are dads, and then you incorporate the language about how it might impact the relationship with his wife, do you have any concerns about excluding people who don't fit into that sort of more traditional model of husband and wife? Or have you gotten any feedback about that?
We haven't, but I expect we will as we grow. And
how will you respond to that?
Yeah, I mean, so my response is pretty simple, right? So when you create a brand, you have to have a really defined target market. We knew that it has to be parents, right? And I've already done the mom thing, and I wanted to do the dad thing. So like that is our target market, but it grows out of that at some point, because I have friends who are like, I'm single. Why isn't this dude mode or men mode? And, or two dads or two moms. And it's like, we're not trying to be excluding to them. It's just more of, we built this around dads, and that's where we're starting. And it could evolve. It could evolve from there, but you need to start somewhere. That'd be a good thing, right? To be a bit more inclusive. But if it evolves from there, then it's still going to be a cleaning brand, but it's still going to be focused on parents. And that's really going to be the end game, because I think that's where the most use is going to be.
For somebody who's been in retail marketing for as long as you have, I'm sure that, customer feedback is something that you really value. What are some of the types of comments that you've gotten, or is there anything that really surprised you that you've gotten as a feedback or in a review from a customer?
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, I mean, I think some of the feedback around Father's Day was not surprising, but like kind of hilarious. Just because we're pushing buttons a little bit there, especially if mom gets dad some cleaning products for a gift. The feedback on the products has been really strong from a performance standpoint. So I think that provides that value, that ingredient standpoint of 95% natural, the fact that we're Leaping Buddy certified, so we can test on animals, and the fact that we're not using plastic bottles, and we're really kind of forward thinking in terms of what a cleaning product should be in today's day and age, is providing the additional value. And the fact that these bottles are really nice and frankly really expensive to make. But I think that there's also some use cases, maybe more with these products, now that I think about it, that are outside of the scope that we thought. So for instance, like our deep stain remover has like a 7 enzyme package in it, which is, there's 7 different enzymes you can clean laundry with. And we're the only brand with all of them. Like that was one of the key things. I was like, these products have to work so well because they're marketed to dads, which, that's how dads grade everything. It either works or it doesn't. And so, but we're hearing about, dads use it on like hunting gear, and, they went fishing and their cooler was full of fish, and they used it to kind of clean out the stench of dead fish in their cooler. I'm like, that's an interesting use case that I didn't think of. So some of those are starting to kind of help morph our social strategy and our content strategy, because you're like, all right, clothing makes sense, but coolers, I never really thought about that. Like, what else can we kind of do sort of adjacent to that to better sort of target what men care about?
Where can people buy your products? I know they can go to godadmode.com to learn about the company. Are they available on other retailers?
So godadmode.com is the website, our D2C site. You can buy at Amazon, you can buy on walmart.com, and you could also buy on TikTok Shop.
Dads listening, go ahead and check out godadmode.com. I will link that in the episode notes along with all the social platforms. Check out the commercials and the content that Sean and his team are putting out. It's very funny. Sean, I wish you luck. I think this is cool. I like what you're doing here, and I hope you grow and sell a lot of products. I appreciate you making the time to chat about all this with me today.
Thanks, Adam. Great talking to you. I appreciate you having me on.
What do you think about all of that? How does dad mode sit with you? I think it's really thought-provoking. On one hand, I think that gendering products can feel a little bit silly sometimes. But in the case of dad mode, if the goal is to support the idea of equality between partners in cleaning and dishes and laundry, I feel like something that elevates that concept is positive. I wonder if your opinion changes or evolves when the end game is a net positive like that. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, and you can leave them in a review of the show, or you can email us at hey@moderndadhood.com. Dads and moms, thank you for spending some of your precious time with me. Again, you can find all episodes of Modern Dadhood on our website, moderndadhood.com, or on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Amazon Music, Spotify, Overcast, Pocket Casts, Hark Audio, wherever you listen. Please subscribe or follow wherever you do listen. Please text this episode to a friend who you think might enjoy it, or just tell a friend or a colleague who's a parent about this podcast, Modern Dadhood, that they might really like. On our website, you can find some merch. We've got Modern Dadhood t-shirts and dad hoodies. Every order ships with a free sticker. What else? We are on all of the socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, you name it. Just search Modern Dadhood or find the links in our episode notes. Thank you to Casper Baby Pants and Spencer Albee for the music you hear in the show. Thanks to Sean Busch for the great conversation. And once again, thank you for listening.